Sparta, many children's, many blessings, starting from the Gladiator. Chapter 51. Dock number 3 was at the northernmost end and had been abandoned for a long time. More than half of the wooden pier had rotted. Stepping on it made creak sounds, as if it would collapse at any moment. In the distance, the skeletons of several broken ships stood, looking like beached whale corpses in the night, eerie and sinister. The shipyard was semi-underground. The entrance was hidden under a pile of tattered fishing nets. You wouldn't notice it unless you looked carefully. Marcus signaled Octavius and Saxa to wait outside and bent down to crawl in himself. It was darker inside than outside, pitch black, impossible to see your hand in front of your face. The air was thick with the smell of heavy mold mixed with cheap alcohol. With the sliver of moonlight coming in from the entrance, one could barely see a figure curled up on a pile of straw in the corner, holding a wine bottle in his hand. "One eye." Marcus spoke. The figure moved, turned his face. Sure enough, he had only one eye. The other eye socket was empty, looking horrifying. "Who is it?" His voice was exceptionally hoarse. "Asking about something." Marcus walked over and squatted down. "Recently several batches of goods at the dock were robbed. I heard you know who did it?" One Eye Gulp took a swig of wine and sneered, "What if I know? What if I don't? If you know, this bag of money is yours." Marcus took out a small bag of silver coins and weighed it in his hand. The coins clinked with a pleasant sound. "If you don't know, you might have to find another place to drink like the bottom of the sea." One Eye stared at the money bag with greed flashing in his eye. It was done by sea snake people. Sea snake. A group of pirates, active in the nearby waters. One Eye took another sip of wine. "Their leader is called Lita, a crazy woman. They've been short on money lately and targeted merchant ships from Capua. But the dock guards are strict, so they couldn't go ashore themselves and hired locals to do the job." "Who are the locals?" "I don't know their names." One Eye shook his head. "I only know it's a gang of thugs from the south of the city. The leader has a scar on his face from forehead to chin, looks terrifying. They were responsible for robbing the goods. The pirates handled selling them." "Where are the goods?" "Most of them have been shipped away." "A small portion." One Eye paused. "Hidden in warehouse number 3 at dock number 7. They'll deal with it after the heat dies down." Marcus threw the money bag to him. "Anyone guarding tonight?" "2. One Eye said. "Scarface is guarding personally. That guy is very vigilant, not easy to deal with." "Got it?" Marcus stood up and left. Back outside, he told Octavius and Saxa the situation in full detail. "What do we do now?" Saxa asked. "Rush the warehouse directly." "No." Marcus shook his head. "Go back first. Tomorrow during the day, we'll go openly." "Why?" "Because we are now legitimate. Marcus said. "Gracchus gave us authority to investigate the dock robbery. Tomorrow, we will search the warehouse in the name of the Senate. If the goods are there, we catch them red-handed. If not, we'll think of another way." "What about Scarface?" "Let Amir and Marcus keep an eye on him." Marcus said. "Don't alert the enemy. Just know where he is." When the three returned to the training ground under the cover of night, the sky was already showing the first light of dawn. Marcus didn't rest. He immediately assigned tasks. Amir took 2 people to the south of the city to find Scarface. Marcus took people to stake out near dock number 7. Saxa and Octavius stayed at the training ground on standby. He himself went straight to the Senate mansion. It was already the second half of the night, but Gracchus hadn't slept yet, or rather, he was woken up by Marcus. In the study, Gracchus was wearing a sleeping robe, his face not looking too good. "You'd better have something important." "I found the goods," Marcus said directly. "In warehouse number 3 at dock number 7. The robbers are a gang of thugs from the south of the city. The leader has a scar on his face. Behind them is the pirate sea snake, leader named Lita. Gracchus's sleepiness vanished instantly. Evidence. The middleman from the black market identified them. There are guards at the warehouse. Marcus said. I suggest searching the warehouse tomorrow morning in the name of the Senate. Catch them red-handed, then follow the vine to find the pirates behind it. Gracchus stared at him for several seconds, then suddenly grinned. Quite efficient, Marcus. Taking money and doing the job. As it should be. Marcus remained expressionless. Fine. Gracchus nodded. Tomorrow morning, I'll send a team of guards with you. Remember, I want them alive, especially that Scarface. I want to know how many insiders the pirates still have in Capua. Understood. When he left the mansion, the sky was already turning pale. Marcus returned to the training ground. He didn't sleep, just sat in the courtyard, watching the east gradually brighten as the morning glow slowly dyed the sky red. The first operation of shadow. It could not fail. After daybreak, the Senate guards arrived on time, 20 men, fully armed. The leading centurion was named Marcus, a serious-faced veteran with an old knife scar on his face. Marcus brought Octavius, Saxa, Gisco, and Drusus, leaving Amir and Marcus behind to continue surveillance. The group marched toward dock number 7, drawing many sidelong glances and discussions from dock workers. Warehouse number 3 was an unremarkable stone house. The door was locked. Marcus gave a signal. 2 soldiers stepped forward and swung their axes. Bang! The lock broke with a snap. The door was pushed open. Dust whooshed up. The warehouse was stacked high with wooden crates and burlap sacks. Marcus walked over and pried open a wooden crate with his dagger. Inside was silk, gleaming with a soft luster in the dim light. He opened another burlap sack. A strong scent of spices hit his nose. Is this the batch? Marcus asked. Marcus carefully checked the markings on several crates. They matched the list Gracchus had given. Yes. Search. Marcus waved his hand. See if anyone's here. The soldiers scattered with a whoosh. Sounds of searching filled the warehouse. The warehouse wasn't big. They finished searching quickly. No one was there. The guards ran. Saxa kicked a straw mat in the corner. Someone must have tipped them off last night. Marcus frowned. At that moment, hurried footsteps came from outside. Amir ran in panting, his face pale. Boss. Scarface. Scarface is dead. What? Early this morning, someone found him dead in an alley in the south of the city. Amir was out of breath. His throat was slit, killed with one cut. The scene was very clean. No clues left at all. Silenced. Marcus's heart sank. The pirates moved much faster than imagined. The goods were found, but the lead is broken. Marcus said. How do we explain this to Lord Commander? Marcus looked at the warehouse full of goods and was silent for a long time. At least the goods were recovered. He finally said. As for the pirates, they failed this time. They will definitely try again. We'll wait for the next opportunity. Marcus nodded and ordered the soldiers to start moving the goods. Marcus walked out of the warehouse and stood on the dock. The sea wind blew over, carrying a salty fishy smell, making his clothes flutter. Pirate Lita. Sea snake. He silently remembered this name. Chapter 52. Back at the training ground, Marcus told everyone the situation exactly as it was. So, this mission is considered half completed. Gisco scratched his head and asked. Considered completed? Marcus said. The goods were recovered, so we can give an explanation to Gracchus's side. As for the pirates, that's a long-term matter. He paused, his gaze sweeping over everyone, but this incident has given us a reminder the water in Capua is deep. There are nobles, merchants, thugs, and pirates. If we want to survive in the cracks, we must be faster, more ruthless, and smarter. What do we do next? Drusus asked. Next, do 3 things. Marcus held up 3 fingers. First, continue training and solidify our skills. Second, expand the intelligence network. Docks, markets, taverns, we need our eyes everywhere. Third. He looked at Saxa, you and I need to make a trip to Sicily. To find that Lita. Saxa raised an eyebrow. No, to talk business. Marcus said. The pirates are short on money. We have channels. If we can cooperate, the docks will be our territory in the future. Isn't that too risky? Octavius said in his deep, muffled voice. If we don't take risks, how can we achieve anything? Marcus said. But this matter is not urgent. We need to plan for the long term and first do the things in front of us well. In the following days, Shadow officially began to operate. The training ground was transformed into a proper base. The sand pit was leveled and smoothed. The weapon warehouse was stocked with quite a few new items. The cells were converted into clean dormitories. Drusus managed the accounts carefully, recording every expense clearly. Amir's intelligence network slowly spread out. New information came back every day. Marcus frequently went to Gracchus's mansion reporting progress, receiving new tasks, and asking for funds along the way. Gracchus was quite satisfied with his efficiency and gave him greater and greater authority. Patrols in the dock area, management of the underground market, and even the transportation of some special goods were gradually handed over to Shadow. Money also increased more and more. Marcus distributed most of the money to his brothers and saved a small portion as emergency funds. He himself only took the same share as everyone else, 10 denarii per month. This approach earned the respect of everyone. On the evening of the 7th day, Marcus was alone in the office, the former study of Batiatus, now his flipping through the intelligence summary sent by Amir. The door creaked open. Lucretia walked in. She was wearing a simple grey long dress, her hair simply tied in a bun at the back of her head. With no makeup on her face. She looked much younger and more real than when she was by Batiatus's side. I heard you're short of an accountant here. She asked softly. Marcus raised his head and looked at her. After Batiatus fell, Lucretia had disappeared for a while. Marcus thought she had left Capua, but unexpectedly. How did you find this place? Capua isn't that big. Lucretia walked to the desk. Besides, the name Shadow has already spread. Former gladiators, Lord Gracchus's new favorite, the actual controller of the dock area. You are a big shot now, Marcus. What big shot? Just earning a living. Marcus said. Are you okay? I'm okay. Lucretia smiled, with a bit of bitterness in her smile. After Batiatus was arrested, I sold some jewelry and rented a small house. I originally wanted to leave Capua, but... She paused. I heard you were here, so I came to see. She looked straight into Marcus's eyes. You said that if you won, you would take me away. Does that still count? Marcus was silent for a long time. It counts. He finally said. But following me is not about enjoying happiness. It's about taking risks, fighting desperately, and not knowing which day you might lose your head. I know. Lucretia said. But I would rather take risks than live my previous life again, acting every day, calculating every day, waiting every day to be discarded like a used piece. She walked to the window and looked at the gladiators training outside in the training ground. The light from the torches flickered on her face. This place has quite a lot of vitality. She said softly. Much better than Batiatus's dead and lifeless training ground. Marcus looked at her thin back and felt complicated emotions surge in his heart. This woman had helped him and also used him. But now, she had nothing left, only the promise he had once made. What can you do? Manage accounts, socialize, collect intelligence. Lucretia turned around. I was Batiatus's wife for so many years. I know how nobles think, how merchants calculate. These, you should be able to use. They were indeed useful. What Marcus lacked now was someone who could navigate the upper society. You can stay. But the rules are the same, no betrayal, no harming the innocent, obey my orders. I agree. Also. Marcus paused. You and Myra. I know. Lucretia interrupted him. I won't cause trouble. As long as I have a place to stay, I'm willing to do anything. Marcus nodded. Drusus is managing the accounts. Go help him, and along the way, collect intelligence from the noble circle. Who is close to Gracchus, who is speaking badly about him behind his back, who might have handles, I want to know all of it. Understood. After Lucretia left, Marcus continued flipping through the intelligence. One piece of information caught his attention. Sea Snake pirate leader Lita from Sicily may visit Capua soon, secretly meeting with a certain senator. Marcus narrowed his eyes. The pirates want to meet with a senator? Interesting. He put away the intelligence and walked to the window. Night had completely fallen. Torches were lit in the training ground. The gladiators know, now the members of Shadow were practicing night combat. Octavius's huge figure was especially prominent in the firelight. Saxa was as agile as a cat. Gisco was loudly shouting commands. Everything was getting on track. But Marcus knew that this calm was only on the surface. 7 days later, in the evening, the intelligence was finally confirmed. The leader of the Sicilian pirate Sea Snake, Lita, was really coming to Capua openly. Not sneaking around, but arriving on a 2-mast fast ship with black sails, docking directly at the most conspicuous position of the civilian dock in Capua port. This woman's guts were too big. Is she crazy? Saxa lay on the roof of the training ground, holding the simple telescope Marcus had exchanged from the system, her mouth wide open. There are at least 50 guards at the port, and she only brought, let me count, 12 people ashore. Marcus stood beside her, also narrowing his eyes to look toward the port. That ship was indeed eye-catching. Black sails, a coiling sea snake spitting its tongue painted in white on the hull, gleaming coldly in the setting sun. There weren't many people on the deck, but each one looked as tough as a sharpened blade. The curved blades at their waists swayed with their steps, and their eyes swept over the dock like hooks. The leading woman was too easy to recognize. Lita. She stood at the bow, her deep brown long hair braided into dozens of thin braids, randomly tied back with colorful beads. Her bronze-colored skin glowed with a healthy luster in the afterglow of the setting sun. Her face was painted with black oil paint, not decoration, but the anti-glare battle markings only old sailors understood. She wore leather armor with shorts, revealing firm calves and arms. Her muscle lines were smooth, as if trained from years of fighting waves. The curved blade at her waist had an exaggerated arc that was frightening. Even from this distance, Marcus could feel that aura, wild, dangerous, like a female leopard that had just come ashore to stretch her muscles. Who is she here to see? Octavius squatted beside them and asked in his deep, muffled voice. Who knows? Marcus put away the telescope and spun the tube in his palm. But definitely not here to buy olive oil. Chapter 53. He turned and walked down from the roof. Prepare yourselves. Tonight I'll go meet her. Alone. Saxa suddenly turned her head, her brows twisted into a knot. Has your brain been kicked by a donkey? Just one person. Marcus didn't stop his footsteps. Bringing more people would only make us look scared. Too risky. Octavius stood up, his massive body blocking half the setting sun. Risk is what makes it worthwhile. Marcus turned back at the staircase entrance. If she can cooperate, we'll have eyes and hands on the sea. If not. He paused. At least we'll know what the enemy looks like, right? In the evening, Marcus left the training ground alone. He didn't carry any visible weapons on the surface. This was Sax's idea. Pirates are best at body searches, but they probably won't think to check your boots. So the short sword was hidden in his right boot, pressed against his ankle. The port at night was even livelier than during the day. The chants of merchant ships unloading cargo, the creaking oars of fishing boats returning, the drunken howling and noise from taverns all mixed together. The air carried the smell of fish, sweat, and cheap alcohol. Breathing it in too much made one dizzy. Lita's ship was docked at the northernmost end of the pier, far away from the other ships, as if deliberately keeping distance. Torches were lit on the ship. Shadows moved back and forth on the deck. Marcus walked to the end of the pier. Two pirates blocked his way. "What do you want?" The scar-faced one on the left asked, his hand already on the hilt of his knife. "To see your captain," Marcus said. "My name is Marcus." The two pirates exchanged a glance. "Wait." Scarface turned and ran onto the ship. He came back shortly and jerked his head. "Captain says come up." Marcus stepped onto the deck. The planks felt solid underfoot. The ship was well maintained. Besides the lookouts, a few others were sharpening knives and mending sails. They all glanced sideways at him, their eyes scraping like knives. "This way." A one-eyed pirate jerked his chin toward the cabin door. Marcus pushed the door open. The cabin was more spacious than it looked from outside. In the middle was a rough wooden table spread with sea charts, weighed down by a few lead weights. The walls were hung full curved blades, harpoons, short crossbows, and even a huge fishing net. The smell of sea brine was overwhelming. Lita sat behind the table, casually tossing a dagger up and down in her hand. Up close, this woman was even more intimidating. The battle tattoos on her face ran from her forehead to her chin, like some mysterious totem. Her eyes were deep green, the color of the sea before a storm. Her figure was fuller than Sax's, but her muscle lines were harder, clearly forged from years of wrestling with waves. The curved blade at her waist had an exaggerated arc that was frightening. "Marcus." She spoke, her voice low and hoarse, carrying a strange accent. "Gracchus's new favorite, the head of Shadow, former gladiator, your reputation has spread quite fast. Your reputation is not small either." Marcus sat down on the wooden box opposite her. "Sea Snake Lita, the most troublesome pirate in the waters around Sicily." These words weren't said by me, but passed around by sailors in the taverns. Lita grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. "Sit." Marcus had already sat down. He watched her stab the dagger thud into the table surface and lean forward. "Do you know why I'm meeting you?" "I don't know." "Because that old thing Gracchus is too greedy." Lita tapped her fingers on the table. "He wants to control everything in Capua land, port, and even wants to stick his hand into the sea. But the sea is my territory. He's reaching too far." "So you came, to warn him?" "No, I came to talk business." Lita stared at Marcus, her green eyes like a cat at night. "Gracchus sees me as a threat, but I think we can be partners. The premise is, he has to spit out something. For example, dock management rights." Lita said lightly. "I don't want his goods, I don't want his money. I only want 1/4 of the dock management rights. My people can freely enter and exit, my ships can dock freely, my goods can safely go ashore. In exchange, I guarantee his merchant ships are safe in the waters around Sicily." Marcus didn't reply immediately. His mind turned rapidly. Gracchus would be crazy to agree. The dock was his lifeline. Letting pirates get involved was no different from handing a knife to someone else. "Why do you think?" "I can help." He raised his eyes. Because you are now Gracchus's mouth and hand at the dock. Lita leaned back, the chair creaking. And I heard that you and him are not master and servant, but partners. Since it's a partnership, there's room for discussion. Even if there is room, 1/4 of the management rights is too much. Then 1/5. Lita's smile deepened. I can take a step back. It's not a matter of how much. Marcus shook his head. It's a matter of nature. Gracchus will never let pirates touch any part of the dock. This is his bottom line. So there's nothing to talk about. There is something to talk about, but we need to change the condition. Lita raised an eyebrow. Oh? Tell me. You don't directly interfere with dock management, but you can have a franchise right at the dock. Marcus said slowly. For example, give you a warehouse in a designated area to store your legal goods. Your people can go ashore, but they must follow the port rules. You guarantee the safety of Gracchus's merchant ships. In return, you can get exclusive trading rights for some goods such as olive oil and wine from Sicily. Lita narrowed her eyes, her fingers unconsciously stroking the dagger hilt. Sounds not bad, but how can I trust Gracchus? That old fox changes his mind faster than flipping a book. You don't have to trust him, but you can trust me. Marcus looked straight at her. I will act as the middle guarantor. If Gracchus goes back on his word, you can come directly to me. You. Lita laughed mockingly. Little brother, what do you have to guarantee with? My life. Marcus said calmly. If Gracchus goes back on his word, you can kill me. But before that, you have to prove your value first. Lita stared at him for a long time. You really have big guts. She finally spoke, with something else in her tone. Daring to use your own life as a bargaining chip. Because I think you are a smart person. Marcus said. Smart people know that killing me would completely offend Gracchus. You won't be able to do business with Capua anymore. Keeping my life at least leaves a path open. Lita smiled. This time the smile was more genuine, with wrinkles piling up at the corners of her eyes. I like smart people. She stood up, walked to the wall, took 2 wooden cups and a clay jar from the hook, and gulp poured 2 cups of deep red liquid. Drink a cup. She pushed 1 cup in front of Marcus. Marcus took it and smelled it. It was wine, but with spices added. The smell was very strong. What is this? A specialty from our place. Lita sprinkled a pinch of black powder into her own cup. Courage wine. Drink it down, your whole body burns, and you won't be afraid even if the sky falls. She tilted her head back and drank most of the cup in one go. Marcus didn't drink. He just held the cup and watched. Afraid I poisoned it? Lita licked the corner of her mouth. Not afraid, but I don't drink. Marcus put the cup down. When talking business, you need to be sober. Chapter 54. No fun. Lita pouted, but didn't force it. She poured herself another full cup, this time without adding powder. I can think about the conditions you mentioned earlier. She swirled the cup. But I have one question, and you have to answer honestly. Ask. Why are you helping me? Lita stared into his eyes, as if trying to see into his bones. Helping a pirate, what good does it do you? 2 benefits. Marcus held up 2 fingers. First, my value in front of Gracchus becomes greater if I can handle the pirates, he will naturally rely on me more. Second. He paused and lowered his voice a little. I need maritime connections. Capua is too small. I want to go farther. Quite ambitious. Lita's eyes brightened. Where do you want to go? First Sicily, then, maybe Carthage, maybe Greece, or even farther. Marcus said. But no matter where I go, I need ships, sailors, and people who know the way. Lita let out a ha laugh, walked to the window, leaned against the frame with her arms crossed over her chest. You want to partner with me, not just for that little dock business. Yes. Marcus nodded. I want to build a long-term line with you. You provide sea resources, I provide land resources. We support each other and grow together. Sounds tempting. Lita turned her head to look at the harbor lights outside. But how do I know you're not just bluffing me? What if you're only trying to get information from me and then have Gracchus send troops to wipe us all out? If that were the case, I wouldn't have come alone tonight. Marcus said straightforwardly. Wiping out pirates is the Navy's job, not mine. My goal is to make money, expand territory, and survive. Cooperating with you is far more profitable than being your enemy. Lita turned back, still leaning against the window frame with her arms crossed. Fine, I can agree. She said. But there's one condition. What condition? You have to show some sincerity. Lita smiled, her smile carrying a wild teasing. Stay tonight. Marcus was stunned. What do you mean? Literal meaning. Lita walked up to him. Her rough fingers stroked his face. I like strong men, and I like smart men even more. You have both. Spend the night with me, and tomorrow morning, we'll sign the agreement. Her fingers had calluses, a bit rough against his face, but warm. Marcus looked at her deep green eyes, weighing rapidly in his mind. Refusing might make the negotiation collapse immediately. Accepting. System. He called in his heart, potential assessment of Lita. Target, Lita, pirate leader. Potential rating, A rank, high potential female character. Special abilities, top-tier navigation, naval combat mastery, pirate network control. Suggestion, host may choose to establish intimate relationship to obtain rewards, but please note the target's extremely high danger level. High risk, high reward. Marcus took a deep breath. Fine. Lita smiled, grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the inner cabin. That night was quite wild. Different from Myra's gentleness, different from Lucretia's calculation, and different from Sax's indulgence. Lita was like a sea storm surging, fierce, completely unpredictable where the next wave would hit. Her passion was aggressive, as if she wanted to devour a person alive before she was satisfied. The cabin was rocking, and not just because of the waves. Marcus could smell the sea salt and sweat on her, hear her suppressed gasps and low growls, feel the burning scratches her nails left on his back. It was the most primitive desire, without any concealment. No feelings, only conquest and being conquered. When it ended, both of them were drenched in sweat, squeezed together on the narrow hammock panting. Lita pulled out a homemade cigarette, some unknown herbs mixed with tobacco, the smell spicy and choking. She took a drag and passed the cigarette to Marcus's mouth. Marcus shook his head. Really no fun. Lita finished it herself and flicked the butt precisely out the porthole. She flipped over and sat up, examining Marcus under the moonlight. You're not bad, she said. A bit stronger than I thought. You're not bad either. Lita smiled, jumped off the hammock and started dressing. The agreement will be signed tomorrow, but some things can be decided now. She tied her leather armor straps while speaking. I need a base at the dock. Doesn't have to be big, but it must be hidden. Can you arrange that? I can. Marcus also sat up and dressed. There's an abandoned fishing house at dock number 7. It was used for private dealings before. There's a warehouse underneath. I'll take you to see it tomorrow. Good. Lita walked to the table, picked up the dagger, and scratch-carved a mark on the tabletop, a coiling sea snake. This is our signal. In the future, when my people come with this mark, give them priority. Understood. The two discussed some more details. By the time the sky was about to brighten, Marcus finally left the cabin. there were already pirates moving on the deck. When they saw him coming out of the captain's quarters, they all winked and grinned with ambiguous smiles. Marcus remained expressionless and walked straight off the ship. Back at the training ground, Saxa and Octavius were waiting in the courtyard. Both had dark circles under their eyes. "How did it go?" Saxa asked immediately. "The talk succeeded," Marcus said. "She will cooperate, but there are quite a few conditions." He briefly explained the situation. "Spending the night with her." Saxa's eyebrows shot up high. "Your sacrifice is quite heavy." "Necessary sacrifice." Marcus wiped his face. "And it wasn't entirely a sacrifice." A ding sounded in his mind, the system prompt. Ding. Detected that the host had intimate relations with high-potential female character Lita and successfully impregnated her. Congratulations on achieving the many children, many blessings achievement. Reward, top-tier navigation skill, a summonable ghost fleet, beginner level. Additional reward, system points x 500. A massive amount of knowledge surged into his mind, reading stars for direction, calculating tides, identifying monsoons, steering and sailing. Countless navigation skills were instantly mastered. At the same time, he felt something new in the system space, a palm-sized black ship model, glowing faintly. This was the summoner for the Ghost Fleet. Ghost Fleet, beginner can summon 3 invisible fast ships, lasting 1 hour, with a cooldown of 7 days. Ships have no crew and require the host to operate them or assign sailors. Good stuff. Marcus felt much more secure. With navigation skills, he wouldn't have to worry about going to sea himself in the future. The Ghost Fleet was a trump card for critical moments. What do we do next? Octavius rubbed his hands and asked. 2 steps. Marcus held up 2 fingers. First, help Lita establish a foothold at the dock and get her a legal identity. Second, prepare our own fleet. Our own fleet. Saxa's eyes widened. Where do we get the ships from? Buy them, or seize them. Marcus said calmly. So many ships come and go at Capua port every day. There are always a few that are ownerless. We'll start with small ships and slowly build up. And the money? I have a way. Marcus didn't explain further, but with the points accumulated in the system plus the money earned during this period, buying a second-hand small ship should be enough. Chapter 55. In the following days, Marcus was so busy he was practically kicking himself in the back of the head. During the day, he helped Lita settle down at dock number 7. That abandoned fishing house was indeed well hidden. The underground warehouse was big enough to store quite a lot of things. On Gracchus's side, Marcus used the reason of stabilizing the dock and dividing the pirates to apply for several trade permits and sailor certificates. Although Gracchus was suspicious, seeing how efficiently Marcus had been handling things lately, he still approved them. At night, Marcus started visiting the ship market. Capua's ship market was in the south of the port and was as lively as a marketplace every day. Most were fishing boats and small cargo ships. Occasionally there were a few decent merchant ships, but their prices were frighteningly high. Marcus took a liking to a 2-mast sailing ship. It wasn't new, but it was well maintained. The owner was a bankrupt merchant in urgent need of money. He asked for 200 denarii. Too expensive? Marcus shook his head. 150. 180. Can't go any lower. 160, cash. Deal. Payment made, ownership transferred, procedures completed. The ship now belonged to Marcus. He named the ship Shadow. Now that he had a ship, he needed sailors. Marcus picked 6 brothers from the training ground who could swim and had good builds, then hired 3 old sailors from the dock to form the initial crew. Saxa volunteered to go on the ship. She said she had rowed small boats back in Thrace and knew a bit. Octavius also wanted to go, but he was too big and couldn't move freely on the ship, so Marcus had him stay on shore to hold down the fort. The maiden voyage of Shadow was on a bright, sunny afternoon. Marcus personally took the helm. The top-tier navigation skill from the system was no joke, adjusting sail angles, judging wind direction, controlling speed. All movements were as smooth as an old captain who had done it for half his life. "Boss, when did you learn to sail?" Amir lay on the railing, his face full of amazement. "Before. I just fiddled around with it," Marcus answered vaguely. The ship sailed out of the port. The sea suddenly opened up wide. Sunlight, waves, salty sea breeze. Standing at the bow, looking at the endless blue, Marcus suddenly felt the stuffiness in his chest ease up a lot. On land, he had to deal with Gracchus, deal with nobles, deal with all kinds of twists and turns. But at sea, there was only sky, sea, ship, and the rudder in his hand. "How does it feel?" Saxa came over and rested her arms on the railing. "Not bad." Marcus took a deep breath. "Much freer than on land." "That's because we haven't run into a storm yet." Saxa grinned. "The time I was in Thrace, the ship almost capsized. I drank a bellyful of seawater. From then on I swore I'd never get on a ship again." "Then why are you on one now?" "Because being with you, I feel like I won't die." Saxa laughed carefree. "A person like you, even the king of hell would find it troublesome to take you." Marcus also smiled. The trial run went smoothly. Shadow was fast enough, turned nimbly. Although it wasn't big, it was enough for now. By the time they returned to port, the sky was almost dark. At the dock, Lita was leaning against her black-sailed ship, arms crossed, watching Shadow dock. "Bought a ship?" She raised an eyebrow. "Had to have one." Marcus jumped off the ship. "The ship's okay, but the crew is too green." Lita pouted. "Want me to lend you a few old hands?" "Not for now." Marcus brushed the dust off his hands. "My own people, I'll train them myself." "Up to you." Lita shrugged. "By the way, tomorrow my people have a batch of goods coming ashore. Put them in the fishing house warehouse. Help keep an eye on them and don't let the port guards cause trouble." "What goods?" "Olive oil, wine, and some specialties." Lita smiled ambiguously. "Don't worry, they're legal on the surface, at least they look that way." "Understood." In the following days, Marcus managed the training ground, looked after the dock, and familiarized himself with the new ship. The days were busy, but extremely fulfilling. Gracchus was more and more satisfied with him and gave him greater and greater authority. Now, almost all the daily affairs of the entire dock area were under Shadow's control. Patrols, tax collection, dispute mediation. With more than 20 people under his command, Marcus had already become a force that could not be ignored at the dock. Lucretia was a big help with the accounts and intelligence. She understood the nobles' ways, could read the twisted account books, and could piece together useful information from fragmented messages. Myra occasionally slipped out from Gracchus's mansion and brought updates from his side. She said Gracchus had been planning big things with other senators lately, often talking late into the night, but she couldn't hear the specific content. Marcus kept all this in mind. On the evening of the 7th day, Marcus was going over the accounts alone in the training ground office. The door creaked open. Lucretia walked in. "I heard you're short of an accountant here," she asked softly. Marcus raised his head and looked at her. "Gracchus proposed in the Senate today to raise the dock tariffs." Lucretia lowered her voice. "The reason is strengthening port security and cracking down on smuggling, but you know the real reason. He wants to make more money." Marcus put down the account book. "Not just making money." Lucretia shook her head. "I heard he has been winning over other senators lately, wanting to compete for the next provincial governor." To fight for the position, he needs a lot of money. Marcus frowned. If the tariffs really increase, dock business will definitely be affected. Merchants will complain, smuggling will become more rampant, and his cooperation with Lita. Is the information reliable? Reliable. Lucretia nodded. Myra overheard it. The proposal has already been submitted, and the Senate will vote next month. Next month. Marcus pondered. Time is running out. If the tariffs are really raised, he has to think of a way in advance. Either persuade Gracchus to withdraw, or find another way. Understood. Marcus said, "You go rest first." After Lucretia left, Marcus walked to the window. Outside the window, the training ground was brightly lit with torches. The gladiators were practicing night combat. Shouts and the clash of weapons echoed far into the night. He recalled the day he first transmigrated, the pain of the whip on his body, Batiatus's hypocritical smile, and the life and death battles in the arena. Step by step, he had reached today. He had his own force, a ship, and people he could work with. But it was not enough. With one word from Gracchus, everything he had worked so hard to build could be destroyed. Can't put my life in someone else's hands. Marcus muttered in a low voice. He turned and walked to the desk, spread out a piece of parchment, and began to write a plan. Step 1, expand the intelligence network widely. Not just Capua, but surrounding cities and even Rome must have eyes. Step 2, solidify strength. Continue recruiting in the training ground. Not just gladiators, but also spies, merchants, and even officials. Step 3, broaden financial paths. Cannot rely only on the little money Gracchus allocates and dock management fees. Must have his own businesses, legal and illegal. Step 4, prepare escape routes. If Capua becomes untenable, must be able to withdraw at any time. The fleet must continue to expand, and overseas bases must be arranged in advance. He wrote each one in detail. He wrote until deep into the night. After finishing the last stroke, Marcus put down the pen and let out a long breath. Chapter 56. With the plan set, it was time to put it into action. Early the next morning, Marcus gathered everyone in the training ground courtyard. 17 people plus himself, 18. Standing in the morning sunlight, every face carried a mix of expectation and unease. They knew that Marcus had stayed in the office until midnight yesterday, so something big must be coming. Listen up. Marcus got straight to the point. Starting today, Shadow is going to expand, not just recruiting people, but also reforming the structure. He paused, his gaze sweeping across every face. Our current model doesn't work. It's too loose, no discipline, slow to react when something big happens. Gracchus could change his mind at any time, and more people at the dock are watching us. If we want to survive and live well, we must change. Gisco scratched his head. Boss, how do we change? Change according to the Roman legion model. Marcus said, but not a complete copy. We will have our own rules. He walked in front of the crowd and began assigning roles. First, divide into teams. Everyone will be split into 3 small teams. Team 1, Combat Team, Captain Gisco, responsible for armed operations, protection, conflict, clearing obstacles. Team 2, Intelligence Team, Captain Amir, responsible for gathering information, reconnaissance, and surveillance. Team 3, Logistics Team, Captain Drosus, responsible for supplies, finances, and daily operations. He looked at the 3 of them. Any problems? Gisco grinned and thumped his chest. No problem. I'm good at fighting. Amir looked a bit nervous but still straightened his chest. I'll do my best. Drosus nodded. Leave it to me. Good. Marcus continued. Second, training reform. Starting today, 2 hours of basic training every morning: physical fitness, weapons, combat. 2 hours of specialized training in the afternoon: combat team practices coordination and tactics, intelligence team practices tracking and disguise, logistics team practices management and accounting. 1 hour of summary in the evening to report the day's progress. Some people below began whispering. This is even more tiring than being a gladiator. A gladiator named Virgil muttered. Tiring. Marcus looked at him. Virgil, if you think it's tiring you can quit now. If you quit, I'll give you 5 denarii and you can go find an easier job. But those who stay must follow my rules. Virgil shrank his neck and stopped talking. Third, compensation reform. Marcus said, previously it was a fixed monthly salary of 10 denarii. Starting today, it will be performance-based. Base salary 5 denarii, the rest depends on performance bonuses for completing missions, extra rewards for meritorious service. If you don't want to work hard, say so now. No one spoke this time. Fourth, discipline. Marcus's voice turned cold. 3 iron rules. Violators will be kicked out. Serious offenders will be executed. The courtyard became so quiet you could hear breathing. 1. Do not betray your brothers. 2. Do not harm innocent civilians. 3. Obey orders. Just these 3. Remember them. He waited a few seconds. Seeing no one objected, he nodded. Now, choose your teams. Decide which team you want to join. The captain must agree. The crowd began to move. Most of the original gladiators chose the combat team. After all, that was all they knew how to do. Gisco picked 8 of the strongest, making 9 people including himself. Amir's intelligence team selected 4 people, all young and sharp. The logistics team had the remaining 4, led by Drosus. What about the 2 of us? Saxa asked with her arms crossed. She and Octavius had not moved yet. You 2 are the special operations group. Marcus said, you report directly to me. Octavius is responsible for assaults, Saxa is responsible for infiltration and assassination. Sounds good. Saxa smiled. After dividing the teams, Marcus had each team captain take their people for meetings to draw up detailed training plans and task assignments. He himself returned to the office, where Lucretia was already waiting. How did it go? First step is done. Marcus sat down. Now let's talk about your tasks. Lucretia sat up straight. I want you to build a shadow intelligence network. Marcus lowered his voice. This network is not under Amir's control. It reports directly to me. Target groups: servants, mistresses, and illegitimate children of nobles, merchants, and officials. Anyone who can access upper-level information, find ways to bribe or plant eyes on them. Lucretia frowned. This will require a lot of money. I have the money. Marcus took out a small money bag from the drawer and pushed it over. There are 200 denarii inside as startup funds. If it's not enough, ask me again. But every expense must be recorded and must have value. Lucretia picked up the money bag, weighed it, and nodded. I understand. One more thing. Marcus said, on Myra's side, have her try to get close to Gracchus's inner circle. She doesn't need to take risks. Just pass on whatever she can hear. The focus is the progress of the tariff proposal, and which senators Gracchus has been trying to win over lately. Good, I'll explain it clearly to her. After Lucretia left, Marcus called Amir over. Your task is heavy. Marcus said directly. The intelligence team only has 4 people now, which is not enough. You need to develop informants at the docks, markets, and taverns. You don't need to let them know about Shadow, just pay for information. Who is saying what, who is doing what, especially anything about us and Gracchus, I want to know all of it. Amir nodded seriously. I will. Give me a weekly intelligence summary. Marcus added, also, keep a close eye on the remaining forces of the Notice training ground. Batiatus is finished and the Notice boss is dead, but their gladiators are still scattered outside. These people may seek revenge. Understood. In the following days, Shadow began operating at high speed like a machine. Every day before dawn, the sound of horns rang out in the training ground. The combat team started training in the sand pit, no longer single combat, but small team coordination. Gisco simplified the Roman legion's formation tactics and taught them how to lock shields together, how to coordinate long and short weapons, and how to fight in tight spaces. Left side. Fill that gap on the left. Gisco shouted until his voice was hoarse. You are not gladiators anymore. You are soldiers. You must coordinate. Do you understand coordination? The intelligence team worked even harder. Amir took his 4 people around the streets and alleys of Capua every day, memorizing the layout of every street, every shop owner, and every patrol team's schedule and route. When they returned at night, they still had to learn how to disguise themselves, how to follow people, and how to pass secret signals. The logistics team was not idle either. Drusus reorganized the training grounds accounts and established a simple income and expenditure recording system. He was also responsible for purchasing supplies, food, medicine, weapon maintenance tools. Every expense had to be carefully calculated. Saxa and Octavius's special operations group were undergoing targeted training. Octavius practiced how to exert his strength advantage in complex terrain. Saxa practiced infiltration and assassination. She had a real talent for it. Marcus himself was not idle. Every day he had to check each team's progress, handle daily dock affairs, regularly report to Gracchus, and still find time to go to the port to watch the modifications on Shadow. The ship was being fitted with some special features, not weapons, but hidden compartments and fast unloading devices. These were all Lita's suggestions. She said sometimes running fast is more important than fighting well. Chapter 57. On the afternoon of the 7th day, Marcus was checking a batch of newly arrived goods at the dock warehouse. Gracchus's private goods, some silk and spices from the east, tightly wrapped in oilcloth. They had a strange fragrance and were extremely valuable. Marcus came running over in a hurry. Boss, something's happened. Speak clearly. Marcus put down the cargo list in his hand. The Hammer gang from the south of the city is causing trouble in the western dock area. Marcus was panting. They robbed a merchant's goods and injured 2 of our guards. They're still there now, shouting that they want to see you. Hammer gang. Marcus remembered the name. A small gang in the south of Capua. They used to eat under Batiatus, doing things like collecting protection fees and petty theft. After Batiatus fell, these people lost their backer and had been restless, but before they only dared to make small moves. How many people do they have? More than 10. Marcus said. The leader is called Brutus. He used to be a gladiator from Notice. There's a scar on his face, from his forehead to his chin. Scarface. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Wasn't this the same Scarface who robbed Gracchus's goods before? Wasn't he supposed to be dead? The body had been found, and Gracchus had personally verified it. Are you sure it's Scarface? Marcus pressed. Positive. Marcus nodded hard. I've seen him many times in the arena. That scar is too obvious, I can't be wrong. Interesting. It seemed the person who died was a substitute. The real one had been hiding until now and finally couldn't hold back anymore. Let's go take a look. Marcus handed the cargo list to the guy beside him. Gisco. Bring the combat team, full armament. The western area was the warehouse district. It was usually not crowded, only some slave laborers and guards. But today, more than 10 men wearing ragged leather armor and holding clubs, knives, and axes surrounded the entrance of warehouse number 3, looking aggressive. 2 port guards were lying on the ground. One was clutching his stomach and groaning, the other had a broken forehead with blood all over the place. The leader's face indeed had a ferocious scar running from the left forehead all the way to the right chin, like a centipede crawling across his face, twisting his features. Marcus. Scarface saw them and grinned, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. You're finally here, big hero. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Marcus stopped 10 steps away from him. Gisco and the combat team lined up behind him, shields already raised. Brutus. Marcus asked calmly. You know me. Scarface raised one eyebrow. The scar moved with it. That makes it easier. I heard you're in charge of the dock now? Then the rules need to change starting today. The western area belongs to me. Every warehouse pays 10 denarii protection fee per month. If you don't pay. He kicked the groaning guard on the ground. This is the consequence. Gisco's teeth ground together loudly. He wanted to charge, but Marcus raised a hand to stop him. Who sent you? Marcus asked. Who sent me? Scarface laughed coldly. I came because I wanted to. Batiatus is dead, Notice is dead. It's time for new owners on this dock. What are you? A rookie gladiator who just debuted, and you think you deserve to control such a big territory? The thugs behind him started jeering. Yeah. Go back to the training ground. The dock belongs to us. Kill them. Take their stuff. Marcus ignored the shouting and just stared at Scarface. I'll give you one chance. Marcus's voice wasn't loud, but everyone could hear it clearly. Take your people and get out of the dock now, and I can pretend today's incident never happened. Get out. Scarface sneered. You're the one who should get out. He suddenly pulled a small crossbow from his chest and shot straight at Marcus. Boss, careful. Gisco cried out. But Marcus was faster. Danger perception had already sounded the alarm a fraction of a second before the bolt was fired. He shifted his body half a step to the left. The bolt grazed past his shoulder and Pucci embedded itself in a wooden crate behind him, the tail still quivering. Almost at the same time, the thugs behind Scarface roared and charged forward. Combat team. Marcus ordered. Shield formation. Gisco reacted immediately. Form up. Quick. The 9 combat team members quickly closed ranks, shields locked together, forming an arc-shaped defensive line. Spears protruded from the gaps between the shields, their bright tips forcing back the first chaotic wave of attackers. Although Scarface's side had more than 10 people, they were just a mob who only knew how to charge and swing wildly. Facing an organized shield formation, they couldn't break through at all. Instead, several were cut by the spear tips. Damn it! Scarface cursed, pulled an axe from his waist. Follow me. Break their turtle shell. He led his fiercest men straight toward the center of the shield formation, the place that looked weakest. But Marcus had been waiting for exactly this. Gisco, shift left 3 steps. He shouted. The shield formation suddenly moved left in unison, the movement so neat that Scarface was stunned for a moment. In that split second of hesitation, he and 3 of his men had already rushed into the gap. Then they realized they were surrounded. The shield formation closed again, trapping the 4 of them in the middle. Shields and spears surrounded them on all sides, like an iron barrel. Drop your weapons. Marcus shouted. Scarface's face twisted. Drop your mother. Before he could finish, Octavius charged out from the shadows of the nearby warehouse. The giant didn't use any technique. He simply slammed into the crowd like a bear charging into a flock of sheep. His fists swung, 1 punch per person, 1 kick per person. Scarface's men flew out like scarecrows. Scarface tried to run, but Saxa had already circled behind him at some point. Her short blade rested silently against his neck. "Don't move." Saxa's voice was very soft, but the blade was ice cold. "This knife of mine is freshly sharpened. It's very sharp." The fight was over. It took less than 5 minutes from start to finish. Scarface's side was lying all over the ground. Only 3 could still stand, all with their hands raised in surrender, faces deathly pale. On Marcus's side, only 2 people were lightly injured. One had a slash on his arm, flesh wound, the other had his forehead smashed by a club and was bleeding a little. "Tie them up," Marcus said. The combat team stepped forward and tied the captives tightly with thick hemp rope. Their technique was practiced. Gisco had taught them the most secure way to bind people these past few days. Scarface was dragged in front of Marcus. He still tried to act tough. "Marcus, if you have the guts, kill me. Otherwise I'll kill you sooner or later. I swear." Marcus looked at him and suddenly smiled. "I won't kill you. You're still useful." He walked over to the injured guard, squatted down to check the injury, 2 broken ribs, but not life-threatening. "Marcus, send them to the infirmary. Find Myra to treat them." Marcus stood up. "Everyone else, take the captives back to the training ground. Separate them. Put Scarface in cell number 1 alone." Chapter 58. Returning to the training ground, Marcus first went to visit the injured brothers. The one with the arm injury was called Caius. He used to be a sparring partner in Batiatus's training ground, quiet personality but willing to endure hardship. The one with the forehead injury was called Luca, only 19 years old, and had a sick mother at home. Myra had already treated their wounds. Caius's arm was wrapped in clean linen, and Luca had herbal ointment applied to his forehead. "They'll be fine after resting a few days. No bones were injured," Myra said, wiping the blood off her hands. "It's just that Luca might be left with a scar." "Scar is good." Luca grinned, though it made him grimace in pain. "With a scar I'll look fiercer. It'll be more convenient when I go out to handle business in the future." Marcus patted both men on the shoulders. "Double bonus this month. Rest well." After dealing with this, he went to see Scarface. Cell number 1 used to be for locking up disobedient gladiators. There were still faded bloodstains on the walls. Scarface was tied to a chair. In addition to the old scar on his face, he now had several new injuries Octavius hadn't held back, and his right eye socket was bruised black and blue. Marcus sat down opposite him. Between them was a broken wooden table. "Speak. Who sent you?" Marcus got straight to the point. "No one sent me." Scarface stiffened his neck. "I just wanted to seize territory." "So what? Then why did you die once and come back to life?" Marcus tapped his fingers lightly on the table. "During the dock robbery case, who was the person who died? He looked quite similar to you." Scarface's face changed. His eyes began to dodge. "You, how do you know about that?" "I know more than you imagine." Marcus leaned forward. "The robbery of Gracchus's goods was the idea of the pirate sea snake. You were responsible for carrying it out. Afterwards the pirates wanted to silence you, killed your substitute, and you escaped and hid until now. You suddenly jumped out now, someone gave you new courage, right? Or did someone promise you greater benefits?" Scarface's lips trembled. He said nothing, staring at the ground. "Let me guess." Marcus continued. "Is it Gracchus's political enemy? Or, the remnants of Notus wanting revenge for their old master? Or both?" Scarface suddenly looked up. A flash of panic appeared in his eyes. Marcus had a clear idea. "You don't have to say it." He stood up, pretending to leave. "Tomorrow I'll hand you over to Gracchus. You robbed his goods, injured his people, and openly provoked him. What do you think he will do to you?" Nail you to a cross? Feed you to wild beasts? Or, slowly torture you to death? I heard he's been in a bad mood lately and is short of a punching bag. Sweat began to appear on Scarface's forehead. That scar looked particularly hideous under the oil lamplight. If I tell you, can you let me go? His voice was dry. Depends on how much you say and how truthfully. Marcus sat down again. Scarface struggled for a few seconds, his face turning red. Finally he gritted his teeth. It was Senator Valerius. Valerius. Marcus remembered the arrogant old man he had seen at the founding festival in the arena, hair combed meticulously, accompanied by his frivolous daughter Livia. Gracchus had mentioned him, calling him old stubborn and stumbling block. What did he ask you to do? Marcus pressed. He wants to bring down Gracchus. Scarface took a breath. The dock tariff proposal Valerius is the loudest voice among the opposition, but he knows that just opposing it in the Senate is useless. He needs to create chaos for Gracchus at the dock to prove he can't manage it well. So he found me and asked me to lead people to cause trouble at the dock and create chaos. He said after it succeeds, he would give me a sum of money and help me leave Capua for Sicily. Anything else? And Scarface swallowed. He said if I could accidentally kill you during the chaos, he would add another 100 denarii. He said if you died, the dock would be even more chaotic and Gracchus would have a harder time cleaning up the mess. Marcus smiled. There was no warmth in the smile. So that was it? Gracchus wanted to raise tariffs to make money. Valerius wanted to stop him, so he attacked from the dock. And Marcus became a chess piece, or rather, a target in the game between the two sides. Interesting. Really interesting. What else do you know? Marcus asked. About Valerius, spill everything. He has secret dealings with several merchants. Scarface said. I don't know the specifics, but I heard it's contraband, maybe weapons, or maybe slaves. Slave trade was legal in Rome, but some special slave trades such as kidnapping free citizens for sale, or smuggling prisoners of war who should have been executed were capital crimes. Being caught meant death. Evidence. Marcus stared at him. I don't have evidence. Scarface shook his head. But I know a merchant named Lucius. He often helps Valerius transport goods. He might know. Lucius. Marcus felt the name was familiar. He remembered Batiatus's kitchen steward, the one responsible for putting drugs in the gladiator's food, was also called Lucius. A tall, thin man with a slightly crossed left eye and a stutter, especially when nervous. After Batiatus fell, that guy disappeared without a trace. Was it the same person? What does that Lucius look like? Tall and thin, left eye slightly crossed, tilts his head when looking at people, stutters, especially when nervous. Scarface described him in detail. Missing a little finger on his right hand, said it was chopped off when he was young for stealing. It matched. It was that Lucius. Very good. Marcus nodded. The information you provided is valuable. I can choose not to hand you over to Gracchus, but there is one condition. What condition? Scarface asked nervously. Work for me. Marcus said. Don't you want to live? Then become my man. I need you to act as an inside agent for Valerius. Whatever he asks you to do, you do it, but you must inform me beforehand. Understand? Understood. Scarface rubbed his wrists. Also, find Lucius and figure out the details of Valerius's contraband dealings. I need evidence, account books, witnesses, transaction records, anything. Scarface nodded hard. Marcus called Marcus over, had him take Scarface to be cleaned and bandaged, then quietly sent him out of the training ground through the back door. Chapter 59. Returning to the office, Lucretia was already waiting for him, flipping through the expenditure records of the past few days. "Did you get it out of him?" she asked without lifting her head. "Yes." Marcus briefly explained the situation. Lucretia put down the wooden board and frowned. "Valerius, this person is not easy to deal with. He is one of the oldest senators in Capua. His family has been operating locally for 3 generations. Their influence is deeply rooted and intertwined. Gracchus has fought him for many years and has never gained the upper hand. Instead, he has been caught with several handles by him. So we have to be careful." Marcus poured a cup of water and drank it in one gulp. "Starting today, strengthen the guard. Double the night posts at the training ground, increase the number of people in the dock patrol team, and have your people watch Valerius's mansion to see who he has been in contact with recently, especially unfamiliar faces." "Understood." Lucretia noted it down. "There's one more thing." Marcus took out a small wooden box from the drawer and pushed it to Lucretia. "There are 50 denarii inside. Go and grease the palms of the lower-level officials in the Senate, clerks, messengers, guards, even the slaves who clean. Don't ask too much. Just have them notify us immediately when they hear any news about the dock, tariffs, or me. Spend the money on the blade." Lucretia picked up the wooden box, waited, and the corner of her mouth showed a slight smile. "I'm good at this. For those small characters, a little sweetness is enough." After she left, Marcus sat alone in the office, staring at the flickering flame of the oil lamp, thinking about the next actions. Valerius wants to bring down Gracchus and is using the dock as the starting point. And he, Marcus, is stuck right in the middle. This is a crisis, but also an opportunity. If he can resolve this crisis, his value in front of Gracchus will be even greater. That guy is insidious, but his rewards and punishments are still fairly clear. If he can instead use this opportunity to seize Valerius's handles or even strike at his forces. At this moment, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Saxa pushed the door open, holding a roll of sheepskin paper in her hand, her face carrying a hint of excitement. "News from Lita's side." She placed the sheepskin paper on the table. "Just received by carrier pigeon." She said Valerius has recently been secretly contacting another pirate group in Sicily, wanting to open a new smuggling channel to bypass us and Gracchus. Marcus unrolled the sheepskin paper. It was information written by Lita in code. This was their agreed communication method. Even if the carrier pigeon was intercepted, it would be unreadable. Translated, the general meaning was, Valerius had sent an intermediary to Sicily to cooperate with a pirate group called Blood Shark. Blood Shark and Lita Sea Snake are mortal enemies. They often fight over territory and business, with blood debts piled up on both sides. Blood Shark. Marcus frowned. He had heard this name before. It was one of the most brutal pirate groups on the eastern Mediterranean coast. The leader was said to be a madman who liked to skin captives and use their hides as sails. Lita asks whether she should take action and deal with that intermediary. Saxa made a throat-slitting gesture. She said it can be done without anyone knowing, just throw him into the sea to feed the fish. No. Marcus shook his head. Tell her to stay put and just keep watching. We can use this opportunity to figure out Valerius's smuggling network from Sicily to Capua. This line definitely has more than one intermediary. Then what do we do? Let Scarface investigate Lucius. That's the land line. Let Lita keep an eye on Blood Shark's movements. That's the sea line. Marcus drew 2 lines on the table with his finger. Go at it from both ends. Once we have enough evidence, we'll directly give Gracchus a big gift. He'll definitely be happy to see evidence of his political enemy smuggling contraband. Saxa smiled, her eyes curving. Boss, you're getting more and more like someone who schemes. In this world, if you don't know how to scheme, you won't live long. Marcus put away the sheepskin paper and stuffed it into the bottom of the drawer. By the way, "Where is Octavius?" "He's at the training ground, teaching those big guys how to break down doors," Saxa said. He said the combat team members have enough strength, but their technique is too crude. They don't even know how to use clever force when smashing doors. They need remedial lessons. Marcus nodded, walked to the window, and pushed open the wooden window. Outside, the sky had already darkened, but torches were lit in the training ground, illuminating everything brightly. Octavius was demonstrating how to smash open a reinforced wooden door with his shoulder, not hard ramming, but first kicking the door frame to loosen it, then hitting the lock position. The combat team members formed a circle around him, watching without blinking. A few people from the intelligence team were practicing disguise in the corner. Amir was teaching them how to change their gait and posture to look like people of different professions. Merchants should stand tall with chest out, slaves should lower their heads and hunch, craftsmen should hold one hand loosely as if holding a tool. Drusus from the logistics team was inventorying a pile of newly purchased supplies, linen, herbs, whetstones, ropes. Two young men stood beside him learning accounting. Drusus counted while teaching: 1 bundle of linen, 20 feet, unit price 3 copper coins, total price. Everything was advancing according to plan. But it was still not fast enough. Valerius's moves were faster than he had expected. The tariff proposal would be voted on in the Senate next month. Before that, the doc could not have any chaos, otherwise Gracchus would be the first to use him as a scapegoat. Saxa. Marcus turned around. Yes. Saxa was fiddling with her small knife. Tomorrow take 2 people, rent a house near Valerius's mansion for long-term surveillance. I want to know who he meets every day, where he goes, what he does, especially when he meets unfamiliar faces. Understood. Saxa put the knife back into her sleeve. How detailed do we need to watch? Detailed enough to draw out his daily activity route. Marcus said. Also, be careful. Valerius is not Batiatus. He is more cunning, has more guards, and there may be hidden sentries in the mansion. Don't worry. Saxa grinned. I'm best at dealing with cunning people. Besides, with this face of mine, I don't look like someone who does bad things, right? She turned and left, her footsteps light and quick. Marcus sat back at the desk. Spread out a new sheet of sheepskin paper, dipped the pen in ink, and began writing a new plan. Counter Valerius's conspiracy. Consolidate control over the dock. Expand the power of shadow. Still need to recruit more people, especially in intelligence. Also guard against Gracchus possibly turning hostile at any time. That guy is like a venomous snake. When he needs you, he smiles warmly. When he doesn't, he bites. Outside the window, the sky was completely dark and the stars had come out. In the training ground, the evening training had begun. 3 days later, the Senate's investigation team arrived at the dock. They did not come quietly. They came openly. 2 ornately decorated carriages, with 8 cavalry guards in front and 8 behind, marching grandly into the dock area and stopping in front of Marcus's small office. The leader was an old senator named Sixtus. His hair was completely white, his back slightly hunched, but his eyes were sharp as knives. He was a famous clean stream in the Senate, hating corruption and bribery the most, and despising underground dealings. Gracchus sent him to investigate the dock riot, clearly intending to borrow a knife to kill if Marcus had problems. Sixtus would not be merciful. If Valerius had problems, Sixtus would not cover for him either. This was a hot potato. Chapter 60. Marcus stood at the door of the small house, watching Sixtus being helped down from the carriage. The old man wore a simple white toga, holding an ivory cane in his hand. Every step was slow but steady. You are Marcus. Sixtus spoke, his voice hoarse but clear. It is me, my lord. Marcus bowed slightly. Sixtus looked him up and down. There was neither appreciation nor disgust in his eyes, Only pure scrutiny, as if examining a piece of goods and weighing its value. I heard there was a riot at the dock a few days ago. People died and people were injured. Sixtus said slowly. The Senate is very concerned. Take me to see the scene. Yes, my lord. Marcus led the investigation team beside Sixtus. There were 2 young scribes and 4 burly guards toward the western warehouse area. The scene had already been cleaned up. The bloodstains were covered with sand, the damaged wooden boxes removed, but the traces of battle remained: deep knife and axe marks on the walls, scattered weapon fragments on the ground, and the hole in the warehouse door that Octavius had smashed through with brute force, looking terrifying. Sixtus inspected it very carefully. He had the scribes record every mark, and had the guards use rulers to measure the distance and angle of the bolt holes. He was so serious it looked like he was solving a case. You said the thugs numbered more than 10. Sixtus suddenly asked. 15, my lord. How many people did you bring? 11. 11 against 15, the other side struck first and even used a crossbow for a sneak attack, yet you won, only lightly injuring 2 people and completely annihilating the opponent. Sixtus turned around and stared at Marcus. This sounds a bit like a myth. Marcus remained expressionless. It is not a myth. It is training and coordination. My people train every day and know how to fight when outnumbered. Training. Sixtus pondered. I heard that you turned Batiatus's gladiator training ground into, what was it called? A shadow base? And trained them according to the Roman legion model. The news spread really fast. Marcus sneered inwardly but admitted frankly on the surface, yes, my lord. I believe that to manage the dock well, patrols and tax collection alone are not enough. We must have reliable force that can respond quickly when something happens. But whose force is this? Sixtus stared into his eyes and asked word by word, yours, or Commander Gracchus's? This question was sharp enough. Marcus answered neither humbly nor arrogantly. Nominally, it is the dock security team authorized by Lord Gracchus. In reality, this team only listens to my command, but my duty is to maintain dock order, protect legal trade, and combat smuggling and crime, all of which serve Capua and the Senate. He spoke beautifully, leaving no fault to find. Sixtus did not comment immediately, just nodded and continued inspecting the scene. After finishing the western area, the old man suddenly said, "Take me to see your training ground." Marcus's heart tightened, but he could not refuse. "This way please, my lord." In the training ground, Gisco was leading the combat team in shield formation practice. 9 people formed a tight square, shields locked together, spears like a forest. They moved, turned, and charged neatly according to commands, their roars shaking the sky. Sixtus watched with great focus, not even blinking. "Stop!" He suddenly spoke. Gisco stopped the movements and looked at Marcus. Marcus nodded for them to comply. Sixtus walked to the front of the shield formation and reached out to touch the edge of the shields. They were copper-edged, thick and sturdy. Where did these equipment come from? Some were seized, some were purchased ourselves. Marcus said. The money came from dock management fees. Every expense has records. Drusus can show you the account books. Sixtus did not look at the account books. Instead, he looked at the faces of the gladiators, now shadow members, one by one. You used to all be gladiators. Yes, my lord. Gisco answered loudly. Why did you stay? Gisco glanced at Marcus, and after receiving permission, he straightened his back and said, because Boss Marcus gave us freedom, gave us dignity, gave us a way to live. We are willing to follow him. Willing to die for him. Willing. The 9 people roared in unison. The momentum startled the 2 scribes. Sixtus was silent for a while, then turned and left the training ground without saying another word. Back at the small dock office, He had the scribes and guards wait outside and entered the room alone with Marcus. "Sit," Sixtus said. The two sat facing each other. The atmosphere was a bit heavy. "Marcus, do you know why I came?" Sixtus asked. "To investigate the dock riot?" "Not only that." Sixtus shook his head. Senator Valerius accused Commander Gracchus in the Senate of tolerating private armed forces with ill intentions. He said your shadow is not just a security team, but a private army, aimed at controlling the dock and then the trade lifeline of Capua. Marcus sneered inwardly as expected. Valerius had started to counterattack. "My lord, do you believe this accusation?" "I don't believe anyone. I only believe evidence," Sixtus said. "But I want to remind you that in Rome, forming armed forces of more than 50 people without Senate approval is a serious crime." "How many people do you have now?" 18. Marcus answered honestly. "Including me?" 18. Sixtus tapped the table with his finger. "Temporarily still within the limit, but if you continue to expand, it will cause trouble." "I understand. There is one more thing." Sixtus leaned forward and lowered his voice. "Valerius said you are colluding with pirates. The leader of the Sicilian pirate sea snake, Lita, has been frequently entering and leaving Capua port recently, yet your shadow never questions it. Is this true?" Here it came the most fatal question. Marcus remained expressionless. "Lita is a legitimate merchant with a trade permit. Her fleet does business in olive oil and wine between Sicily and Capua. These permits were personally approved by Lord Gracchus. As the dock manager, I am only responsible for checking whether the goods are legal and whether there are contraband items. As for whether she is a pirate..." He paused, then continued, "Unless there is evidence, I cannot refuse a legitimate merchant based on rumors." Sixtus stared at him, as if trying to see through him. But Marcus was very calm enough that no fault could be found. "I heard that a few days ago a batch of silk and spices from the east arrived at the port. They were Gracchus's private goods." Sixtus changed the subject. "The tariff on this batch of goods seems to be much lower than the normal rate. That is the senatorial privilege enjoyed by Lord Gracchus," Marcus said. "According to Roman law, personal trade of the senatorial class can enjoy partial tariff reduction. I only handled it according to the rules." "Rules?" Sixtus smiled, a faint smile. "Marcus, you are very good at talking and doing things, but I want to remind you that the water in Capua is very deep. The struggle between Gracchus and Valerius is not something you can get involved in. If you stand on the wrong side, you will die miserably." "Thank you for the reminder, my lord," Marcus said. "I am only doing my duty." Sixtus stood up, leaning on his cane as he walked out. "The investigation is temporarily over," he said. "I will report what I saw to the Senate truthfully, but remember, before my report is submitted, there must be no more chaos at the dock. Otherwise, no matter who is right or wrong, you will be held responsible." "Understood." After seeing off the investigation team, Marcus returned to the small house, his face sinking.